UFC Seattle on Saturday had a lot of changes, a lot of fights dropped off. They're dropped down to 11 fights, so they needed to add one more. So they signed Austin Vanderford, the husband of Paige Van Zandt, and he's going to be taking on Nikolai Veretennikov. At a catchweight, Vanderford's normally a welterweight, but since it's on short notice, he'll be a catchweight. He's in the Pacific Northwest, so it's easy for him to get there to Seattle. He'll be an interesting addition to the welterweight roster. He has a 12-2 record and is a former Bellator fighter. He could have been in the UFC 7 years ago because he won on the Contender Series.
Of course, on the Contender Series, you find out about whether you get a contract or not that night, and I unfortunately didn't get one.
Rodriguez and Cannonier had fight of the night over the weekend, which ended in the fourth round via TKO for Cannonier. Rodriguez is truly honored to share the octagon with number 7 in the division. Cannonier's highly experienced fighter who taught me a lot in this fight. I saw several details that can be improved, things that will be changed. A winning fight of the night was a gift of two warriors who weren't afraid to go to battle. But he also adds, most people don't know this, I had serious issues to recovery after a weight cut. My body just wasn't responding. I keep wondering how things would have played out if I had been at 100%. But no sad stories here. RoboCop never dies. Time to recharge, reset the system, and upgrade because I'm just getting started. RoboCop turned 33 on Monday. Some fans have an aversion to fighters giving any excuse after a fight, but nonetheless, great fight. Stellar first round by Rodriguez. Great heart and toughness by Cannonier, weathering that storm, staying the course and getting the stoppage in the fourth round. It actually played out the way Jared thought it would. He expected to face an onslaught early, but anticipated Rodriguez would slow down to the point where he could take over and get the finish, and that is what happened. Cannonier says he would like to return in early summer. Matt Brown doesn't think that Eric Nicksick should have criticized Sean Strickland publicly. Eric Nicksick is in agreement with that. I agree, Matt. Looking back, I made a mistake. My true intentions were to try and motivate him publicly, and that was a miscalculation on my part. Nicksick will be at UFC Seattle this weekend, cornering Mansour Abdul Malik. One of the other coaches at Extreme Couture, former UFC fighter Justin Jane, surprisingly aired out some dirty laundry between Strickland and Nicksick, saying it's a payment dispute that caused a rift between them.
He sent him a very long text message wanting to talk about, their agreement, and Sean ghosted him. And that obviously would be very upsetting if I'm calling somebody to talk about what I think I deserve and what I'm being paid, and they just don't answer. That would fucking piss me off. And imagine Eric had some emotion about that, and then to go on, Sean saying he didn't want to fight, he was only fighting for a paycheck. Well, you got to look at Eric's personal life. He has a family in Vegas. He has 100 other fighters that he works with. He has a gym that he manages. So for him to take off the time to put into Sean, putting in an 8-week fight camp, working with him for 8 weeks, then going to Australia for 2 weeks, just for a guy that doesn't even care about winning or lose or care about winning, he felt that not only was he shorted financially, he was taking time away from his other fighters. That
Strickland denies this, saying this is completely false. All these washed up fighters doing podcasts like a woman. Someone asks, why would you air this out? Strickland responds, and it's an utter lie. Robles Despain returns to karate combat for KC53 Denver. That's next week, February 28th, the Friday. Super heavyweight contest. Despain has fought 3 times there now in 2 months. In December, he won in 4 seconds. In January, he won in 12 seconds. And this one, based on that projection, would be 20-second KO. His opponent, Hodgers Sousa, was signed to the GFL, but no team picked him up, so he's in karate combat. Women's flyweights in the PFL tournament: Santos, Carmouche, Bishop, Velasquez, Watanabe, Donna, Joanny, Avsaragova. There's no Dakota Vdicheva. Some people started to assume that she's going to be in the UFC then, but she'll probably just do fights outside of the PFL tournament format.
Aaron Pico is seeking a release from the PFL to join the UFC. Don Davis is preventing this move. Pico states that while he is technically a free agent, the PFL has the right to match any offer he receives. Pico says he no longer trusts Davis and feels that Davis is interfering with his livelihood, and he is concerned that the PFL's matching period could keep him inactive for an extended period. He's currently waiting for an offer from the UFC.
Don Davis had a response. I love Aaron Pico, rising star, fighter, and great person. To be clear, PFL's not holding him back. Pico's a free agent, can sign today with the UFC, and then the PFL can decide whether to match the offer. This is standard MMA contract that Pico signed and how MMA industry works for everyone.
Battles in a cage, no nonsense. Hearts beating wild, got that electric suspense. Feel the rhythm, adrenaline flows. Fire to the beat where the energy grows. Every move counts, strike with precision. In this moment, it's hard to see.
Next Power Slap event, Power Slap 12, is on March 7th, the day before UFC 313. McGregor's on the card. Dakota McGregor. Julius Walker makes his UFC debut on Saturday against Alonzo Menafield. He says regarding his cardio, it's untested, so we're going to find out. He usually wins in the first round. 5 of 6 wins in the first round. So if it goes to round 2 and 3, we'll find out how he does there.
Aqui no cage do RFA e depois a comemoração que eu não entendi muito bem. Este é o guerreiro Jean Lorde Assassino Silva!
BKFC is doing a couple shows in Dubai in April. They're doing it back-to-back, actually, April 4th and 5th. They added a couple women's fights to that card. Day 1, Hart versus Emery, and this one, Day 2, Rankin versus Borga.
Ready for the bell to sound. Fighting keeps me earthbound. Budgets flying, I rise in this battle. True lies.
Talson Teixeira, ranked in your debut by beating Tafa. The heavyweight division is looking better than ever. Yeah, it's really bad. And that and the women's bantamweight division are, neck and neck for being the worst in the UFC. Faraz Greasegate, UFC 94, all over again. OGs remember Greasegate. Keith Kaiser, the commissioner, noticed GSP doing it in the second BJ fight. Then he suffered 0 consequences. And Faraz was rubbing his front and back paws in virtually every round since with 0 consequence. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
You're afraid of Trump? You should see how afraid of Trump I am.
Can you wrap up, please?
This is a higher peak elevation tent. This tent mimics me fighting or just getting used to and acclimating to the elevation in which I'm going to be fighting at the end of next month, which is March 29th. So next is the higher peak machine. Right here. You just press this button on here and then it obviously transfers the oxygen. Higher peak, check it out. It's definitely something that can be a game changer.